plan. EGIS and their team will give a little more of a layout on what tonight will entail, but I wanted to start by introducing ourselves and giving a bit of background. So the county has started development of this transportation master plan as of last year. We enlisted the services of EGIS, formerly Macintosh Perry, in order to proceed with the development of our transportation master plan. And from there, I'll move to EGIS's team and just ask that you mute your microphones for the time being. There will be a Q&A period at the end, at which time we're more than welcome to any questions.
The National Transportation Safety Board.
Thanks, Taylor, and good evening and welcome everyone. We really would like to thank you for your time and interest in this project and attending tonight's meeting. So my name is Mehmet Delibasic, and I am a project manager, one of the project teams from the Aegis Consulting Company, as Taylor mentioned, and I will introduce our team just before we move on. As Taylor mentioned, please mute your microphone unless you are speaking, because we're happy to see a lot of people attending tonight, which is great. And the presentation will be recorded. It will be posted on the project website, on the county website. And following this presentation, we will be have the session for the questions, answers, and just for the questions, you can type your questions in the chat. There is on the bottom of your screen, there is the area for the chat. You can text those questions anytime. And once we finish, we will have that, then you can speak on camera anyway. So it's all, will guide you through this. Just to introduce team, I think I will jump to the next slide here. In addition to me, oops. Sorry about that. In addition to Taylor and me, there is Lee Perkins. He's Director of Public Works Engineering, attending tonight. You already met Taylor, and in addition to me, we have, maybe I just call Mike Mitch. It's part of project team as a traffic engineer, assisting me as project manager. We have Alina, transportation planner. You will all, and we have another consulting partnering with us on this project from Mobicon. It's Marian Donaldson.
Hi.
So that's kind of like overall the project consulting team. The objective of this PAC is really the get input and your involvement in this important county project, transportation master plan. And this is, as Taylor said, this is first public meeting, and it's very important to, as a project team, to have you as residents to provide your input and participate in this planning transportation study. And so it's very important to that you are here, but however, it's not only tonight opportunity for you to provide your input. You can provide your input throughout through entire duration of this project, through the emails, phone calls, and all details are presented. You will have them here. You will also can find all these days and updates on the project website as we go through the project. So this is only one opportunity on one way for you guys to provide input on this project. But please, as we go through the project, as you learn tonight more, and after this public meeting, you can send us email with regard to the future comments and questions. The objective is we will introduce the project, present what is the transportation master plan, what is kind of like background in order to kind of like undertake this transportation master plan study. First, go through the phases of the project, following some processes. We will explain them. The first phase of the project where we are now is pretty much is kind of like the reviewing all those existing conditions, challenges, and opportunities within the county. Then the next phase we'll talk about that going forward. And on this project, there will be, and we will look for the future, the network and growth and so on. So I did mention opportunity to provide to residents for input to learn about project, and definitely here we are here to answer transportation master plan related questions or any questions kind of like that. It's usually we can use as input on this project. Study area. County of Renfrew, it's part of two-tier government system. County contains 10 townships and 5 towns, and it is in eastern Ontario along the Ottawa River. It is a huge geographically county, and as per 2021 Statistics Canada, it has approximately 8,000 kilometer squares, and this density population is about, let's call it 15 people per square kilometers. Population is about just over 100,000 people as per 2021. It's probably around now 110,000. Which again, it is as many municipalities and many areas in Canada and Ontario, there is growth. Here is based on statistic about 4% growth since 2016 as a county. The population, there is also plan. We will touch here how county is planning to growth by to reach 2036. It is forecast to 107,000 according to official plan. So those are the numbers, and those are kind of like future as county grows. Transportation master plan, just to provide some kind of like background, what is transportation master plan? It is a planning document, long-term strategy to for the county to have really the planning how to accommodate that growth, employment, population, and so on, and how to really look in the future to accommodate by infrastructure and so on. We will talk here, it's not just about, cars. We call it, it is multimodal transportation system, how county can work to improve all those multimodal transportation system, which means in addition to cars, it's active transportation, other modes of transportation, walking, transit, and so on. So that's the kind of like to explain that multimodal when we say it is look for, in addition to other planning documents that county has and working on or working on an update, is a document that also look and align with other county policies, growth plans, provincial plans, and as well as some other neighboring municipalities, counties, and regions. So everyone is working on these planning studies to have vision and plan for the growth and how to go through these infrastructure projects and improvements and so on. So we will follow the transportation master plan typically, and this one follow the master planning process as is prescribed by provincial municipal class CA projects process for the municipal projects as a master plan process. As part of that process, the transportation master plan, this one, and typically this type of master plans, they follow phase 1 and phase 2 of that municipal class CA process, including part of that process is public consultation, stakeholder consultation, engagement, and so on. So that's kind of like the part of process we follow that to get input from stakeholders, agencies, residents, and so on. This is just kind of like diagram showing that the process described as provincial document called Municipal Class EA Planning and Design Process. I did mention we will follow those two phases. We are in the phase one where we are pretty much looking those existing condition and getting first input from different stakeholders, including now from the public. At the end of the second phase of the project, definitely there is another public meeting. There will be transportation master plan as a document that will be as a final product. The process we are in the, as I said, in first stage of the projects where we are reviewing really that existing condition. We went through this first phase, a lot of these kind of like background information, assessing existing condition, still working on that. However, we are now in the part of the project when we really look for the public and stakeholder engagement and to identify then to close that kind of like existing condition and look for the next phase of the project for the future, how to address some of these challenges and how to look for the implementations and then we will identify those in next phase, do a lot of technical work, transportation modeling, active transportation capacities, work on some policies and to help county if they don't have it, or revisit or look what is the latest in regard to the standard industry standards or guidelines, and definitely recommend preferred solution and recommendations for the future and have a transportation master plan as a document. There will be second round of consultation and so on. The objective, the horizon that we are looking here, it's up to 2034. I would like to mention that typically transportation master plan, it's not it's the document or study or the planning document that a county or that's the municipality update and it's constantly it's not kind of like done this year and it stay there forever. So typically transportation master plans or other master plans, it can be they are updated between 5 to 10 years. It's typically in Ontario how we are updating these transportation master plan. So again, there the hope and I'm positive county will work on the next update again to go on the more future horizon years. As part of transportation master plan, as you can see, there is a kind of like 10 years horizon. We will develop those recommendations and plans in phases, so how the county can work on these for implementations, for fundings and so on. Typically it is 1 to 5 years what can be implemented, then again medium term 5 to 10 and so on, longer terms. I did mention active transportation. You will learn or hear tonight a lot about active transportation as county and other municipalities are really focusing these days on other modes of transportation, working on the sidewalks, trails, and so on. So that's a very important part of transportation master plan, but overall the infrastructure and the network of the county. Policies, there are different type of policies, but we will revisit or work with county through this about road rationalization, road classification, traffic calming, and some other policies as part of this project. And really, the goal is to improve mobility across all modes of transportation, that it's connected, safe, sustainable, and affordable for all residents. Some background how we started. There is significant traffic part of the transportation master plan. we look or existing road network, existing not every single intersection, not every single kind of like a section of the road, traffic volumes. But we look those volumes, what turning movement counts, what it means, those kind of like at particular intersections, in coordination with county, if there are those intersections that they identified with some operational issues. Then we collected some other traffic data as part of the beginning of the project. There's a lot of mapping that you will see. We call it a GIS mapping. To start with existing, what county has, road network, active transportation. We will look also the part of collision and some safety issues, and the number of other background documents that we reviewed, strategic plans, official plan, and some other policies or the planning documents as part of background. So it's the overall significant background involved in order to go through this first phase of the project. A lot of these policies, they are county, they are provincial, there are some kind of like regional policies that we reviewed, and they are also important because, you know, all municipalities or regions, they're looking for these transportation master plans. So it has to be to the some level, everyone is working on these documents, how their community will grow. So county is also looking how that will meet other plans, regional, provincial, and so on. With regard to the existing zoning or how the county is based, there is it's as I said, and we know, main objective of transportation master plan is also to fit into the official plan and some other master plans that county may undertake already completed. So they all became part of official plan. So the official plan in general and the big picture is another document that looks for the future and how county is growing, how it's developing in the zones based on the commercial, residential, and so on. So the that existing zoning, in addition to that road network, how that is coordinated and input to the official plan that county has. Existing road jurisdictions, just reminding myself here.
I can take it from here, Mammon.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'll
Right,
pass it to Mitch to continue.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so the map on the right here just shows the various roads within Renfrew County. These roads include roads that are owned by the Ministry of Transportation, so Highway 17, Highway 60, Highway 41, and so on. It shows all the local municipal roads which are owned by the various townships and towns within the county. And it shows a number of various other roads such as private roads and federal or crown roads. So as the study is being completed specifically for the county of Renfrew, we're primarily focused on the Renfrew County owned roads. But as an upper tier municipality, the county has the authority to change the jurisdiction of any road between itself and the local municipalities. So the county has a road rationalization policy, which it uses to assess all roads based on a number of criteria, such as traffic volume, connections to highways or urban centers. And if it meets enough criteria, then that road can be considered for transfer to the county's jurisdiction. So part of this study will be to look at any potential changes to the road rationalization policy and road jurisdictions in general. Next slide. So this slide just shows a few zoomed in sections of the previous map, looking at a number of the towns and urban areas within the county. So as you can see, the county roads primarily serve as the main arterials through these areas, such as Daniel Street or County Road 2 in the town of Arnprior, and Petawawa Boulevard or County Road 51 in Petawawa. So, next slide. So whenever there is an emergency or for any reason the MTO has to close part of the highway, It uses signed detours to detour traffic around the closure. Currently, the only signed emergency detour routes within the county are located in and around the town of Arnprior. But with MTO's plans to continue widening Highway 17 to the town of Renfrew, we do have to consider new connections to the highway and then potential jurisdiction changes as a result. So here, as you can see in table 1 and table 2, once a road falls under the county's jurisdiction, the county assigns it a classification based on its traffic volume and whether it's in an urban area or a rural area. These classifications include arterials, collectors, and local roads, and generally indicate the type of service the roadway is intended to provide. The county then designs the roads based on its design standards to accommodate that service. So things like lane widths and asphalt depth are all based on these classifications. So the map on the right here just shows the assigned classifications of the county roads. Then again, this map just shows a zoomed in sections of the previous map. As you can see, most county roads through these areas are classified as either urban arterials, major or minor, and then urban collectors. So a major component of this study is investigating the need for any road widening or local operational improvements. So the average annual daily traffic volume, or AADT, is useful not only in classifying roads and assessing jurisdiction, but also for assessing road needs like road widening and operational improvements by providing metrics for the road like volume to capacity ratio, for example. So as you can see in the map on the right, the busiest road segments in the county are generally located within the urban centers. And then if we switch to the next slide. So some of the highest volume roads are Petawawa Boulevard, or County Road 51, Daniel Street, or County Road 2, and Madawaska Boulevard, County Road 1. On another point, this study is looking at a 10-year horizon, so we will be estimating future traffic volumes out to 2034 and considering general population and development growth and looking at potential capacity issues at that point. So in addition to the average daily traffic, we also collected 8-hour turning movement count data at 11 county-owned intersections. Based on the traffic data, we assessed peak morning and afternoon traffic operations. And just to list off the locations from north to south, we had the intersection of Petawawa Boulevard at Victoria Street, Petawawa Boulevard at Murphy Street, Pembroke Street West at Forest Lee Road, Forest Lee Road at TV Tower Road, Boundary Road East at Brewham Avenue, Greenwood Road at Whitewater Road, Greenwood Road at Beachburg Road, Elgin Street at Division Street, Baskin Drive at Daniel Street, Madawaska Boulevard at Daniel Street, and then Madawaska Boulevard at McNabb Street. So based on the assessment, as you can see on the map on the right here, most intersections are operating at a level of service D or better. Level of service is just an indicator of the delay at an intersection. So level of service A indicates almost no delay. And then as you move down to level of service F, this indicates long delays and generally long queues as well. Level of service E or level of service F typically indicates a potential need for some operational improvements. So currently no intersections are operating at either level of service E or F. But we are aware of some need for operational improvements, particularly along Petawawa Boulevard and Daniel Street. And then also from the turning movement count data, we also completed traffic signal warrants for the stop control intersections. Currently, no new signals are warranted, but this assessment will be completed again for the future traffic volumes to see if maybe they will be warranted within the next 10 years. So currently, most of the county roads are signed at 80 kilometers per hour, and then they reduce down to 50 kilometers per hour through the urban centers. These transition areas are typical areas of concern for speeding. especially in cases where the physical road environment doesn't change in respect to the reduced speed limit. So as part of this TMP, we will be looking to make some recommendations towards achieving acceptable operating speeds through the urban areas. So we're looking at things like reducing lane widths and providing some traffic calming measures like speed display signs. So again, this just shows zoomed in areas of the previous map. We can see some areas where the posted speed goes all the way down to 40 kilometers per hour, like in the town of Arnprior and the village of Barry's Bay. So as part of this study, we're also completing a high-level collision analysis. So the map here just shows the collision density based on the last 5 years of collision data. Generally, collision frequency correlates to traffic volume, but overall, animal-related collisions are overrepresented, which is to be expected in rural areas like Renfrew County. So this map just shows the density of the animal-related collisions specifically. As you can see, there are some corridors with quite a few animal-related collisions, despite being relatively low-volume roads, like Round Lake Road, Lake Dore Road, Beachburg Road, and Combermere Road. Part of this study will be looking to provide some recommendations for enhanced protection in these areas. So generally, the typical deer or moose crossing signs are relatively ineffective at increasing driver awareness. But some things like intelligent detection systems, like you see on some highways, could potentially be implemented. So overall, the county has a total of 251 bridge and culvert structures that it's responsible for maintaining. So while this project is generally not focused on this type of infrastructure, when we look at recommending road projects, we need to consider potential implementation timing and align it with the structural rehab or replacement, just to reduce the cost to the counties. So there are a few structures shown here, which are nearing the end of their life cycle, and we will need to consider in our implementation plans. Okay, I think here I will pass it over to Narian, our active transportation specialist with Mobicom.
Hi. So yeah, we looked at the active transportation infrastructure in the county. So active transportation in our case, we're looking at walking, cycling, modes like that. So also in the future, we'll be expecting to see a lot more of similar types of vehicles, so like e-scooters potentially or e-bikes. So basically, the smaller vehicles than what you typically find on a main roadway, so smaller than cars and stuff like that. So the county has a huge number of trails. Primarily, the active transportation consists of rail trails, which are former railways which have been converted for use by cycling, walking, snowmobiles, ATVs. And there are also hardened shoulders, which are basically the paved shoulder beside the road, which can be used for cycling, although they're not necessarily as attractive to the full range of the population as a trail would be if it. And a lot of the trails we found are actually managed by the lower two municipalities rather than the county itself. So that means there needs to be a fair amount of coordination between the two levels of government as part of the plan. There are not currently any officially designated cycling lanes that we identified in the county, though they may be installed in the future, depending on what we find in the plan. So the county itself owns two major trail corridors, which are both former railways. The Algonquin Trail is the main one that runs along the Ottawa River. It goes from Arnprior all the way across the county to Deep River and beyond via most of the major settlements along the Ottawa River. And there's the Kingston and Pembroke Trail, which runs from Renfrew to Calabogie as well. So as part of the TMP process, we're also going to be looking at potential upgrades to those trails. Currently, they're mostly used for recreation, but they could potentially be used also for more extensively for transportation if they were upgraded. Next slide. Yeah, so as I mentioned, there are a huge number of trails, almost 4,000 kilometers of trails, but most of those are fairly small walking trails. So they're not particularly transportation focused, although of those trails, 1,200 kilometers are multi-use trails. So those are the larger trails, which do actually allow also cycling on them, for example. And those are often have some potential to be used for transportation purposes. And as I mentioned earlier, some of the major trails in the county are actually owned by lower tier municipalities, not the county itself, such as the Millennium Trail, which runs from Arnprior to Renfrew, and the J.R. Booth Heritage Railway Trail, which runs sort of east-west near Barry's Bay. There's the towns and townships and the county are also working on a new trail corridor, which runs from Pembroke through Beachburg to the Quebec border along a former Canadian National Railway that was abandoned a few years ago. Next slide. So yeah, here's a zoom in on the active transportation infrastructure that currently exists in some of the settlements in Renfrew County. And again, in a lot of these, what you'll notice is that the trail network, which is shown in green, intersects the town. So there's a lot, they're quite direct routes that could have potentially a lot more transportation function if they were upgraded. So that's something we'll be looking at as part of the plan. If there are areas which are particularly high focus for potential upgrades to make them more useful for transportation.
Yep, thank you, Narian. I'll be taking over from here. So now moving on to emerging trends, it's important to know that the transportation sector is also experiencing like significant changes in the technological advancement. And so counties and municipalities need to better prepare in response to these emerging trends. And so as part of this TMP study, we'll be looking at this. And some of you may be aware that we're moving towards electrification and electric vehicles have become more common on all Canadian roads in the past few years and will continue to be. So currently the government of Canada has set a target for all new cars and passenger trucks to be zero emission by 2035. And within County of Renfrew, as you can see on the right on the map, there's 11 charging stations available for the public to use. And there's also some additional charging stations nearby Renfrew County, like in the city of Pembroke, just kind of highlighted there for the public as well. So, and in the chart, we've just kind of highlighted the key areas where those charging stations are within Renfrew County. And so there's opportunity moving forward for collaboration with developers and stakeholders to, expand EV capacity throughout County of Renfrew. Next slide, please. So the TMP study will also be looking into transit service. Currently within the County of Renfrew, there's no local or regional public transit service. The only scheduled bus service in the County of Renfrew is the Ontario Northland Intercity Bus Service, which operates once per day between Ottawa and Sudbury via County of Renfrew, Arnprior, Petawawa, and Deep River. So basically buses travel through the County of Renfrew towards Sudbury in the morning and toward Ottawa in the evening. This basically makes the service impractical for day trips to Ottawa. Also, commuter buses within the County of Renfrew were previously being operated from Arnprior to Ottawa by a private operator as part of OC Transpo's regional partner program. OC Transpo is basically City of Ottawa's transit agency, but this service was discontinued in 2020. So moving forward, the TMP study will be, looking into making recommendations when it comes to transit as well. Next slide, please. And so in terms of to kind of collect, as part of the TMP process, consultation and public engagement is another key component of the study. And so an online survey was prepared and conducted from July of last year and closed this year on January 1st. We had a good turnout. Around 432 respondents completed the survey, which is a 62% completion rate, and a wide range of age groups we saw participate in the survey between 18 and 65 plus. Next slide, please. And so from the results that came in from the survey, some of the main issues that were identified by the public, as you can see on the right, the pie chart, this is listed in order of most important to the least important, but these are some of the main issues that were brought up, considering poor road conditions, inadequate public transit bus services. Many people did bring up speeding issues around Madawaska Boulevard, as well as concerns over traffic congestion at Daniel Street and Arnprior and it being unsafe for pedestrians. Many comments were also related to local operations, roadway capacity, traffic signals and widenings, as well as concerns over the lack of connected and safe active transportation networks within the county of Renfrew. Yeah, just hand it back to Mohammed now.
Okay, thank you. I think this will, in general, just conclude our presentation. Just provide a little bit update what are our next steps before we get into the, the getting more inputs from you. From here, we're definitely looking for your more input tonight, and which is really to understand your needs and priorities. Get back to the, this is a one step, obtaining input from, as we mentioned, from different stakeholders, including public. Look to what summarize those issues and opportunities as first phase of the project as existing condition, and keep working on those supporting policies. We mentioned a couple of them. It's traffic calming or the road rationalization or classification and so on. And move forward in the next phase is really to look for those phases, as we said, how to implement the growth and the improvements in the next 10 years. And we will come back again on second round of the consultation. Just to mention here, we did, there is, in addition to this public meeting, there are other 4 municipalities are also undertaking the parallel with county transportation master plan. So tomorrow, for example, we have public meeting with Emperor. So it is a big undertaking overall. It's good to see that county and municipalities are working on this transportation master plan. Project website and our contacts are here. And with that, I would like again to thank you, everyone. But now here we are to start with questions, answering questions. Maybe if we can go through some questions that they are in chat, or we can go first to speak. So Taylor, any recommendation how we start? Or maybe we start first with kind of like those live questions, if someone would like to speak. Once we get out of those, we go through those questions in the chat. Is that kind of like okay?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to go about it. I see there have been a number of questions asked in the chat, and it looks like answers are being provided as they're asked in the chat as well. So if you do have something you want to type out, please by all means, but we'll start with the local questions and go from there. I
see we have I will do my best. Robert Fisher is raised hand. So Robert, please go ahead and ask questions. You can just don't forget to unmute. Robert. Okay, so the Robert has question. Do we see what's Robert's question in chat? So yeah, we'll come back, Robert, to you. Let's move to the next question that someone has raised hand, would like to speak. Mark McKenzie, Mark, would you like to speak or?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mohammed.
I'm
and
on the
all-
phone here.
Oh,
Close the door, please.
okay.
Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, thank you very much for this presentation, Mohammed and all, and Taylor. Thanks for organizing this important project. So going back to the slide, second last slide there, in terms of the priorities, from the survey results, and one is the lack of a public transportation system, and I'm just wondering if that's on the radar at all to look at the feasibility for some sort of bus service, public transportation throughout the county, because I've heard that from a number of constituents. I'm mayor in McNabb Braeside here, and it's come up in other discussions. I'm just wondering if that's on the radar to be addressed at all in this process.
So I will just kind of answer the best at least what we will look here as a transportation master plan. It is good to see the, even these questions or through the survey to learn that, residents are looking for these, let's say, the transit, and when we are talking other modes, and potential services through the county and in coordination with different municipalities, with province and so on, or regions. So as part of transportation master plans, as we presented here, we summarize what is there, what was there, how the county, we will definitely pick and like look what is interest between county and municipalities to work on this potential, some transit services, or some municipalities, some other regions that we are working different across Ontario. In this similar settings, when you have county and municipalities, some municipalities, they have transit, some would like to maybe work on the regional transit amalgamation. But in this case, we will present what is there, what are opportunities for when we learn more from other municipalities as part of county, what are potential opportunities for county to explore some transit services. Also some other potential with, let's say there is a lot of talk from federal government or provincial government. Are there any plan to help county and municipalities with potential transit or connection or expansion? So that's how far transportation master plan will go. With some recommendations, but we will not, as part of transportation master plan, identified or have some recommendation that county will say, yeah, that's the one. So there are kind of like, for example, even we call it transit master plans or something like that, that county may consider, but I'm not sure if Tyler would like to comment on that one. So definitely we may look for some opportunities and that county may explore to consider, yeah. Anyone else have any input or comments or addition to this?
Yeah, I could just add to that and say basically what we're doing is we're sort of laying the groundwork. So we are doing a very high level of analysis of the distribution of the population. So we'll sort of, yeah, like Mohammed said, look at the types of options which could work in Renfrew County, but like he said, we won't be doing a detailed analysis. That's not currently part of the scope to go do a highly detailed analysis of what types of, to recommend a particular transit solution.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and Mema, if I may, lead Perkins
Yes.
here with the county. First of all, thank you all for being here this evening. It's excellent to see some community involvement. Back to Mayor McKenzie's question about transit, that would definitely be something that comes from the county council as an initiative. As you know, the county of Renfrew is the largest geographical county, so transit would be a very expensive option. But if council wanted to pursue it, that's something that we would definitely look into.
Yeah. So if I can just add, it is very important that, let's say, that conversation is happening now at transportation master plan stage, that we see that residents or that the project team and that county see that residents are looking for that, or literally kind of like bringing this to the conversation. So it is going to be kind of like part of transportation master plan that council and county can further explore and say this was studied to the some level, or through the surveys or to the public meetings. It will be documented that residents are asking for the public transport or to connect this large geographic area. Very similar, we are working on the other transportation master plan for also the large geographic area, city of Kawartha Lakes. And we had the same interest from the public that they also, their residents are looking the same for transit and those connections, which is again good to see that more of these rural, large geographic communities are looking also for transit services. And so just to bring.
Okay, thank you.
So let's go back. Thank you for the question.
And Mohammed, the Robert Fisher's question is in the chat. Do you want me to read it out for you?
Yes, please. Yeah.
So Robert Fisher's question is, there are 3 infrastructure pillars: housing, communication, and transit/transportation. I haven't really seen anything in this presentation about transit. Is there anything in the plan about non-car transit, apart from we'll be looking at it? And I think we've addressed that in our previous comment, basically explaining what we're going to do for looking into transit. And as well as active transportation, we will be, of course, looking into the upgrading the active transportation network. And the second part of the question here is, I see much of this is concentrated on the Highway 17 corridor. What about the smaller communities in Western Renfrew?
I think in regard to answer, that's we already kind of covered the transit part. So with regard to the communities and the road network and all those, I think we have to recognize those, let's say the by classification roads, but we are looking for the also smaller areas and other road networks. So the focus is, let's call it all major roads, including the smaller areas, smaller communities. It's not just the major highway. Yeah. So, MTO, the road is part of county, but or the overall network, but we are focused on county roads and the municipal roads. We have Ben. Dan, would you like to speak? Dan, I don't have your last name.
Yeah, sure. Dan Ralph. Hi, everyone. Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm coming at this maybe from a little different perspective. I don't have any specific questions about transportation in Renfrew, but I'm looking at this through the lens of just basic planning. And I'm wondering, a couple of things as you were speaking came to mind. One is, I would submit that there's a difference between seeking input and quote unquote, do you have any questions? Entirely different animal. If you're asking for people's input, you need to give them some parameters, some options, what are the touch points in this plan that touch the customer? And then you inquire and you drill down, because otherwise you're getting questions. And of course, everybody's looking at this through their own lens, through their own perspective. So I haven't read the survey, but I just urge you to, I don't know if you're getting any help with your public consultation piece of the plan. Very important. I looked at, I mean, obviously the sample size here tonight is not statistically large enough to do anything, to say anything about it. You had 400 and some odd answer a survey, but you said 62% survey completion, but you got 110,000 residents in the county. How many people did the survey go out to?
So to answer the first question, part of our objective of this first public meeting is to present study and to get input on this, what some people have already some background as they participated or they learned through there will be second public meeting where there will be options, solutions, when we get again another input to provide input on the recommendations. So pretty much at this stage, it's a lot of existing conditions and listening issues that we would like to take from here and incorporate when we bring the next meeting potential solutions or recommendations to look for get another input. So this is a two-stage get that input from the public.
So I just throw that out there. What would equal a high degree of success in terms of stakeholder input? I don't need you to answer that now, but you got to ask yourself that question. What's a statistically large enough sample size to say that we can conclude with some assurity that the public think X, Y, or Z? The other thing I would say is that, again, relating to input, do you want input on the design of the plan? Do you want input on the scope of the plan? Do you want input on the cost of the plan? Do you want it? I haven't heard anything about risk assessment here yet. Be interesting to see what you're doing with risk assessment. And the last piece, two last points I'd make. Have you considered bolting onto this plan a change management piece? Because when you get to the implementation of the plan, it's got change management written all over it. So I would encourage you to look at that, the human element of change. The last piece is when you talk about stakeholder input, have you gone out and done presentations to the councils themselves?
No, we have not done any presentation to the council.
I highly recommend you do that, because I don't see any council member from my township sitting on here tonight, unless I'm mistaken. So the council need to own this, and not just one person representing their council. So I would encourage you to hop in a car and get out to those council meetings and pitch your plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are good comments, good input, recommendations. We will definitely consider them going forward too. Daniel,
Hello, can you hear me?
yeah. Go
Great.
ahead.
First of all, I want to thank you for today's presentation. So I'm here with a number of my neighbors. We live on Daniel Street, and we did have a few questions based on the presentation. So the first one that we saw was on slide 21, and we saw that signals not currently warranted on any of the unsignalized intersections. So we have two new buildings that are going to be going up. And we did see that the Renfrew County official plan only estimates for about 1,500 population growth by what it was at 2036, which primarily will be happening in Arnprior and is also a low estimate and does not reflect the current growth within Canada, Ontario either, or in Renfrew County, as it's currently been growing over the last 3 years. Now, when it comes to Daniel Street, it is a county road, and that's why we're listening in today. And with those two new buildings going in, the first 36 units, the other looking at about 48 units. So I know these plans aren't going into detail, and tomorrow there will be the Arnprior plan presentation. But do you see a need there where some of the unsignalized intersections could use some signalizing or even roundabouts? Like, are there other ways of looking at this, though we know now they don't need it, but long-term planning?
I can take that one, Mohammed, if it's okay. Yeah, so like I said, like this is just for existing conditions. And then so the signal warrants are based on these 8 hours of traffic volume data that we collected in 2023. So those are reflective of the existing conditions. But when we look to the future conditions, the the warrant criteria for signals do change just because of the degree of uncertainty with the future traffic volumes. But that said, when we do project the traffic volumes out to the various future horizons, we will perform these warrants again. And then that will consider, our basically include our assessment of growth and within Arnprior specifically, and on how that affects the traffic volumes. But again, this is a relatively high level assessment. So the recommendation out of this might be for, to move forward with the environmental assessment for, changes to Daniel Street.
Thank you, Michelle. I really appreciate that. There was definitely concern hearing that it was an 8-hour assessment, as Daniel Street tends to be more of a 12 to 24-hour street. As you know, it's the second busiest in Renfrew County. So that could definitely be looked at when doing the assessment the second time. So we just wanted to move over to sort of the long-term policies that were talked about for Renfrew County and specifically on active transportation. And though there was mention that a lot of our region, the biggest in Ontario, tends to be focused on highway driving, which is absolutely understandable, as well as a lot of rural roads. But I also want to take into consideration that we also live in small urban areas that are walkable and have density, and that should be encouraged. And thank you, I appreciate that thumbs up. And so we want to see that included going forward in official plans for Renfrew. So when we're talking about long-term policy, is this going to look at active transportation as well for all municipalities that are covered under Renfrew County?
Yeah. So so that, like you said, it is absolutely part of it. So active transportation, the challenge being that at the county level, we're mostly looking at the sort of relatively longer distance travel. So the county trails, for example, which in Arnprior, there's effectively just the one that goes through the center of Arnprior. That's the Algonquin trails, so that will certainly be part of the county. But then tomorrow we'll be talking a lot more about Arnprior itself. Because as you mentioned, there is actually a lot of opportunity in the county of Renfrew because so many of the communities are geographically quite compact. So we even noticed in the existing data that there is already quite a lot of people just walking to other places within the town they're in. So although, on the map, our population density is incredibly low, in the areas, in the towns there, it is actually relatively compact. So there is actually a fair amount of short distance travel, which has the potential to be quite attractive for active transportation.
Yeah, I highly appreciate that. We know that active transportation improves economic development, improves tourism, improves housing prices, as well as accessibility for low-income families. So I highly, highly appreciate that statement. I also want to question, we're talking about the trails as access routes, but none of these trails actually connect us to service needs. So active transportation really reflects the needs of our community, whereas these trails are used more recreationally. So when we're talking about those policy recommendations, are we going to be looking at how we connect people to the service needs that they have, such as getting to the grocery store safely, such as Daniel Street? It's used every day by people that work at our service centers, and they're not able to get to their jobs or be able to get groceries safely. Is that going to be part of the policy as well when we're talking about the trails?
Yes, absolutely. When we look at the active transportation and the potential for improvements to active transportation, we are looking at the full trip, so at origin to destination. And at the county level, it's somewhat cut off in the sense that a lot of that is actually done at the lower tier level. But certainly, like in Arnprior, we're doing both the transportation master plan for the county and the town of Arnprior. So a lot of that will actually be in the town level, but one way or another, it will be there. Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So do I have time for one more question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So we also talked about, we said traffic calming to ensure compliance with posted speed limits across the county. So when we discussed that, there was conversation of road narrowing, which definitely we encourage, and speed radar. Are we going to look at other ways as well?
Yes, that was just one example, but we will be looking at the full array of traffic calming options and not only recommending specific options for like specific locations, but more so just providing the county with the tools to assess the network and determine, you know, what type of traffic calming might be warranted for any road.
Great, and will that be encouraged in policy as well? There tends to be a fear of traffic calming measures within the county, unfortunately. And though I think that is changing, will that be encouraged in policy so that councillors can better understand the need for these?
Yeah, I mean, generally our sort of approach is that traffic calming is more retroactive in nature, and then it sort of serves to address speeding on existing roads. So our recommendation will be sort of to develop a traffic calming policy, but then going forward, design future roads that are designed appropriate for their operating speed.
Super, thank you.
And also just to that traffic calming, it is a policy or the tool, and also to help county with the process, how to go through these requests or look for each location is specifically or different, what type of traffic calming measure can be implemented. And there are some industry standards and recommendation guidelines, what can be implemented, what type of facilities in order to calm traffic, and the latest are those radars and so on. So yes, the policy will help county to address some of these requests and go through. Yeah, so we will not go particularly location by location, but policy will provide county assistance or tool to start looking or what is there. Yeah.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
So we have the next question from Lizanne. I mean, the raised hand.
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I noticed when you were presenting the current state on some of the roadways and you talked about the different speeding on the state roads, Madawaska was in there as people speeding, I think. I'm not sure which slide that was. And I wanted to know why Daniel Street was not in there as well. And when did you do the study for
Yes,
the current state of Daniel Street?
Sorry, just to clarify, we don't actually have like speed data for these roads. I think what I was referring to is just that the sort of the transition periods where we go from the rural cross section into the urban cross section. So basically where the speed limits reduced from 80 to 50, those are typically the areas of concern for speeding. So we don't necessarily have the actual speeding data.
Who would have that? Or is that part of the project?
I may jump in here. Actually, we have it for a few roads in Arnprior and can be accessed from the town or county.
But is that part of the project?
What we assess as part of the project, just these number of locations that we said that county asked us to look for 11 locations for the intersection operations. But speed data, it's typically, or speed studies are done on the kind of like if county has, let's say, collision history or speeding request from the city, from the residents, then they look for the independent different studies how to address that. So part of transportation master plan, we are not looking here for any particular street that we kind of like there are speeding because we don't have data. The part of TMP is not to look for the one street that has, let's call it, speeding issues.
Well, the challenge with Daniel Street is that it's a county street that runs through Arnprior. So there's usually, if there's no input into the transportation plan for roads that run through towns that belong to the county, that's going to be, then nothing will be changed.
So we did mention that traffic calming. So if there is the speeding and if county knows and the municipality that there are speeding on this road, so they can apply some traffic calming or do undertake further studies to investigate speeding.
Yes, but it's probably a decision-making issue between the county and the municipal.
I can jump in here for a moment from the county perspective as well. Sorry, Taylor from the county here.
Hi.
Regarding the speed data, we do collect speed data, and we can ensure that the data we do have gets shared with the consultant, so it's taken into consideration as well. Regarding county roads that run through towns and local municipalities, though they are county roads, that's why they're part of the county's overall transportation master plan. They are being viewed as urban arterials, I guess, in the case of Daniel Street, and what measures the county should look at implementing, as well as in consultation with the town of Arnprior in this case, but the local municipality in general.
And so
If
how
that
do
answers
you?
it.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense. And so how does the project identify priorities on what is to be addressed and what is not to be addressed? Because you have a lot of, obviously, the transportation plan is huge. So how are priorities set in the project?
So as far as developing when certain work should occur, it'll be I imagine, a number of factors, and EGIS can cut me off if I'm wrong here, but it'll come down to what the issues are, whether it's capacity, certain traffic calming measures being required, or the condition of the road. And I'm sure all of those measures would be taken into consideration whenever it comes to prioritizing works.
Yes, and the next phase of the project, when we to all this area that we identified through this first phase for different type of issues will be recommended or presented in the next phase of the project. And as part of the study, it will be recommended in phases for implementation or how the county can address them. So it will be part of next phase of the project.
Based on input from the stakeholders or just based on?
Based on the studies, we do technical studies. It's a number of these, what we said, assess number of intersections, assess existing condition with missing links, assess the next phase will be to look for the capacity issues. If some road has more vehicles than it can take, then the recommendation is looking for potential widening of the road, introducing additional lane, and so on. So then the phase, those what we said, 1 to 5 years, 5 to 10, it will be presented, including at high level the financial impact or the cost, how city transportation master plan is high level planning study that it doesn't, the city can identify it from here to take individual separate projects, taking additional studies for addressing some of that.
Okay, so I guess that helps me understand the stakeholder engagement question from your previous caller.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we don't have any other raised hand. Maybe we go through the chat. Is there any chat from our consultant team that we didn't answer the questions? Or do we go through?
Yeah, there are a few questions in the chat.
So Narian, you wanna? I don't know what you see first. First is Debbie. The video is on. Yeah. You wanna read?
Sure, I'll read out Debbie McDonald's question. Is the transportation plan team looking at possible bypasses around small communities to remove large trucks from using the narrow downtown main streets to connect to the county highways?
So transportation master plan, we definitely, as we said, we look all the vehicular challenges. If there are some corridors identified that have high volume of the commercial or heavy trucks, including through the some traffic data that we have, as well as comments like this, as well as if county identify those corridors for us to look. We will look for potential options if there are for, let's call it, detours or bypass. So yes, we will look those commercial or heavy vehicle. Will the PMP identify there is the bypass? We don't know at this stage, and typically we just present if there are potential corridors that if there exist, that's town and that county with other municipalities can consider as a potential, let's call it rerouting heavy vehicles from the urban areas. Yeah.
And the next question is, what is the frequency of environmental impact assessments? I don't know if they meant transportation master plans or if they meant EA.
Yeah, let's assume this question is frequency of transportation master plan. Is that?
That's my guess.
Yeah, I think as I mentioned at the beginning, we did say typically a transportation master plan, what we see in recent history, they are taking between 5 to 10 years in order to provide those updates, because all municipalities or regions are growing significantly. So it is good to take this update in another 5 years.
There's a question of how long are we planning around Highway 17 being extended, being twinned by 2036, or I think actually 2034 was our horizon year. Will this affect the TMP? So basically, how far are we assuming that the twinning will be in 2034 in our horizon year?
Not sure, Mitch.
Yeah, so ultimately, I think the short-term plan is for the Highway 17 to be widened, I think just slightly past the town of Renfrew, I think 3 kilometers past Bruce Street. In terms of timing, we are in communication with MTO, and we will be sort of assessing that as part of the future conditions, and then specifically their construction timing. So we don't have any specific details as of today on when we expect that to be completed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess a related question from Dan on a similar question is how is this plan interrelated with the provincial transportation plans? Since there are fair number of provincial highways through the county.
Yeah, typically, and as part of this, we do coordinate with Ministry of Transportation with regard to get definitely they know that counties undertaking transportation master plan. If there is, and we asking them for if they can provide their current plans or within our study horizon plans for potential improvements within county, so that we can include those areas or timelines as part of TMPs. And depends on what type of, let's say, provincial plans are they, building interchange or whatever. It is important for us to know to understand timelines as well as what type of improvements, so that we can include and have meetings with the ministry. So MTO is like a part of agency that we coordinate, and they provide us those timelines on their projects.
Next question is, to what extent is the plan taking pedestrian traffic into consideration, particularly in smaller communities? And I can answer that one. So like I said, it is a county plan, so primarily looking at the county roads. So where they are county roads, looking at the areas within urban areas, which just means any kind of built up area, could be village or whatever, is taken into account. So we are looking, and that's part of the traffic calming and the traffic safety, making sure that there are safe ways for people to walk along the county roads and walk across the county roads. But then the wider walking network in those communities would be done at the lower tier transportation plan level. Then there's a couple questions from Daniel Street residents. Should the county be telling you what should be studied in terms of speeding or policy? I'm not sure I understand what what they mean by that. You mean that the county should be telling the consultants what to study, or I mean, we are looking at those topics.
I think Taylor more or less already answered that question, just
Okay.
with respect to the scope of the study.
Okay, yeah. And then road conditions. Yeah, so like you said, I think you mentioned, Mitch, that road conditions were one of the considerations for the phasing plan, right?
Yeah, with that said, though, road maintenance is typically not part of the scope of the transportation master plan, but we could recommend sort of road need studies or that sort of thing.
Okay, and I think that's the end of the questions that I see here in chat.
Yeah. Do we have anyone else? Any other question? Just looking here, any other raised hand?
Just to jump in for a moment, I do see one question. I'm not sure if it was addressed in the Q&A portion. There was a master transportation plan done in 2010 with recommendations dealing with traffic circles. Will you be using the old MTP to recommend or take out traffic circles? I think this is in regards to the town of Arpaar's transportation master plan that was done back in 2009 or 2010.
So the let's call this roundabouts. I believe that we are referring here, or this is really the small like circle, old one that they were called circles. But as part again, we are assessing, and we the starting point is always a previous transportation master plan, including that this one was done long, and potential improvements and potential recommendation is for some municipalities are looking for implementation through the retro, or as well as to recommend through their new developments these roundabouts. Or if there is recommendation based on criteria and warranties, if there are challenges with existing any traffic control intersection, is it circle or roundabout or signals or stop signs, we will revisit and if county identify to us which one to look if we. So is there any particular or anything, or this was just kind of like part of recommendation? Will this be? There's the question, will this be recorded for later viewing? Yes, it is recorded and will be posted on the county website, project website. Any other comments or questions from anyone? I think there was a question, is there a project plan available? I'm not sure the project plan, do you mean a project plan as a schedule or? Yeah, I think maybe Mitch, if you would like to provide update on what is the, I think this project will take this year and entering the next year, approximately our key milestones.
I believe there's a bit of information relating to like the schedule of the project on the county webpage.
Yeah, I think yeah, there are updates, and we update them as we go through the projects, and some of them may be again updated with regard, but definitely there are details about next meeting or as we go through the project. Or next, let's call it major milestones. I think we have a few more minutes. Here was good conversation, good questions.
I think 2 more questions popped up in the chat, Mohammed.
Let me just take a look. Is it possible to plan your meetings for 7 p.m. to allow more people to join in? Yes, I mean, we will, for the next one, we'll coordinate with the county for the meeting 7 o'clock if overall the county would like to recommend. It is possible. Going forward, will the public forums be online or will there be opportunity to engage in the person? I think as a part, you know, the part of this project, it was planned from beginning to have them online or the virtual. However, based on the county and the project team, how we or the request can be done either way. Yeah.
I can jump in on that one as well. So I believe the Public Information Center number 2 would probably be virtual, although we are exploring options to make the report or the presentation available in hard copy ahead of time in a few local locations around the county, just to expand that availability and give more residents the chance to review ahead of time and provide input on it, just based on some of the feedback we've gotten recently.
And also would like to mention that this presentation, it's already on it's gonna be posted or reposted on the project website, on the county website. So this and other study material as we go through notices and so on. Tomorrow is another public meeting for the emperor, and there will be more public meeting on the second phase. There will be second for both for county and emperor. However, some other municipalities, as part of their transportation master plan, they will have also the public meetings. It will be there. How soon it will be? It will be there on the county this presentation tomorrow. Yeah.
Actually, it seems to be already up.
Yeah, it is already there. It's couple changes that we make since that one is posted today. So this will be there again, reposted tomorrow. Yeah, but the one I think from yesterday is there. It's pretty much the same. Yeah.
All right, I'll just do final call. If there's any more questions anyone would like to pose or ask. Seeing none, I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank everyone who was able to attend. Though this was an opportunity for public input, our contact information is provided on the last slide there. If any questions should come to mind after this meeting, please, by all means, go ahead and email them to us or give me a call in the office. If I'm not able to answer them, I'll forward them on to EGIS for their expert advice as well, and they'll be taken into consideration in the transportation master plan development as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Taylor. Thank you, everyone, for your time and great input and feedback and questions. So we will take all into consideration going forward. And this is really great feedback and great participation. Thank you. Have a good night.